Hey everyone, it's Matt here, and welcome back to something completely different. It's actually not just me here today. Today I've got Devin here with me, if you want to say hello.
Hello.
Perfect. We're actually gonna start doing this new series here where we take a few moments and do a bit more of a casual discussion of what's going on in Magic as a whole, whether it be current events, the Commander format, and even the channel updates as we kind of think they're necessary. That way we both get a moment to kind of talk in and give our thoughts on it. And every now and then it'll be a couple of guests on with us, but for the most part it's just gonna be Devin and I.
I'm excited to do this new series, kind of want to get the information out there, so.
Yeah, awesome. So I guess without any further ado today, we're going to be talking about Commander Collection Green, and also the information we just got on Commander Legends. So let's jump in with Commander Collection Green, I guess. So Commander Collection Green is going to be 8 reprinted cards with brand new art. They're going to include 2 highly sought after green staples, alongside 6 other cards which are fine, I guess. I mean, they're there, but they're fine. It's set for an early December release date, and there's actually 2 different distinct collections, a foil and a non-foil collection. And of course there's no MSRP right now, but a couple of pre-sellers have listed the non-foil at $39.99 and $79.99 for the foil. So, Devin, what are your thoughts on Commander Collection Green?
Well, my thoughts on Commander Collection Green is Sylvan Library and Worldly Tutor are amazing reprints. Like, they've needed reprints quite a bit, but everything else is really like, as you said, it's fine. Like, Seedborn Muse, Command Tower, Soul Ring have been getting more prints, especially Command Tower and Soul Ring. Omnath, Locus of Mana, and Freyalise are okay commander options, but they're nothing super special. And then Bane of Progress is just a card that's been around. It kind of seems like it fits this Commander Green. Oh, like the cards, it is a green effect. But the Sylvan Library and Worldly Tutor being printed just make this product worth it by themselves.
Yeah, I mean, that's really the honest truth of it. If the actual pre-order price of $39.99 or $79.99 holds for, foil versus non-foil respectively, this is a great pickup, even if it just included Sylvan Library and Worldly Tutor.
Absolutely.
Everything else is just kind of icing on the cake.
But unfortunately, that was not the case.
I also really want to know who in the product design team loves Omnath so much, because it just seems like Omnath's everywhere. It'll always be everywhere.
Yeah, it's kind of becoming a joke in and of itself. But honestly, it's nice to see blingy versions of these cards, and I don't really have any super strong feelings on this. This is kind of like the spellbooks, except a more focused, commander-oriented version. My one little quibble? I hate this Freyalise art. The original is so much better.
I do like the original art a lot better. I actually have some gripes about the 2 main sought-after cards in this product. It's the art does not fit the card.
That is completely fair. I think when we first saw the art for Worldly Tutor, we both kind of had the problem of Wizards isn't going to be able to pass up the joke here for Chord of Calling with Yi-San.
Yeah.
I will admit though, what they were trying to do was have these callbacks to staple green legends that they perceive. That's why Reki's on Sylvan Library.
That's who it is.
And Yi-San's on Worldly Tutor.
That makes sense, but at the same time, like the Sylvan Library art, while it's Reki, it just doesn't represent the card. I'm glad they didn't put Chord of Calling in this, because we just got Chord of Calling.
Oh yeah.
But I would have loved either a different legend or a different style for that legend for this art, because that card screams Chord of Calling.
Yep. Real quickly as well, it is worth mentioning, these are only available through WPN stores. On top of that, not every WPN store is going to get access to what they call the premium version, which is the foil version. So foils of this may be a little hard to come by. But even so, this is still a product worth picking up. And I guess the last thing I'd close this on is they're intending to do this with every color over time. So we will see a Commander Collection white, a Commander Collection red, blue, black, and we could speculate on what'll be in them, but I think that's a different day, if there's interest in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think we've pretty much beaten this product to death at this point. I really don't think with these pre-constructed products, unless they're just god-awful, there's a whole lot to talk about. So let's go ahead and jump into probably more important news that we got, Commander Legends. So we have Commander Legends. We received our first bit of information at Command Fest this weekend. It's looking to be a full Commander draft set, and they're making several changes to the format to make it work, which we'll talk about here in a moment. It's going to be 20 card packs, with a guaranteed 2 legends and a foil in each. It's not really tied to any specific plane or set, it kind of pulls from a bit of everywhere in Magic, and supposedly it's going to be a bit more like a Battle Bond than a Master set. There's a new foil style available in both the collector's packs, and at a small chance in regular draft boosters. It's going to be called an etched foil, and it's going to look a bit like this. As far as the set itself, we're looking at a total of 71 new legends, 41 of which are going to be partners. Which, oh boy, we'll get to that in a moment. On top of that, the other thing that we know so far is that they're going to be reprinting 32 legends in that etched foil frame as well, in the set itself, and also in collector's boosters. We're also getting both enemy Crowdlands, and on top of that, supposedly, this is the first set where Mono White is really going to start seeing its power boost. So that's kind of the quick rundown of Commander Legends. Initial impressions, Devin.
I'm very surprised that Partner has made a comeback. I thought that was something we were not going to see again with how the last set of Partner, the original Partners went. Yeah, it was surprising. And another thing is that I think the draft environment for this is going to be really cool, just because 20 card packs, a lot of legends. I feel like this is going to feel like a mix between Dominaria and Battle Bond draft, which I really am excited for.
I tell you what, let's actually go ahead and jump straight into talking about the draft environment a bit, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So first things first, it's going to be 60 card decks as opposed to the normal 100 for Commander, which makes sense. They could have done 100 card decks, but to be honest with you, it would have required a minimum of 5 packs, and it would have gotten a little ugly.
It would have been stretched, to say the very least.
To that same regard, actually, unlike Commander where it's a singleton format, the draft environment for Commander Legends is going to allow you to run as many copies of any given card or effect as you pull, so you're allowed to run duplicates in your Commander Legends draft decks. It starts at 40 life, and commander damage does apply, just like normal commander, and like with Battle Bond, you're going to be drafting 2 cards every time you take a pick from a pack.
That's why it's the comparison I'm making to it's a love child of Battle Bond and Dominaria. It definitely is going to have that field with all the legends. I think this is going to be one of the more fun draft environments.
Yeah, and the reason I bring up the draft environment first is there's a new thing we need to talk about, and it actually leads into the partner mechanic as well, so let's do that unless you have anything else you want to say about the initial stuff for the draft environment.
For the draft environment, no.
Welcome to your spoiler alert. Step away now if you don't want to see anything.
Spoiler alert, spoiler alert.
So what did you think about Urza getting a Planeswalker card?
What?
Exactly, it's not real. Do me a favor and scroll up to Prismatic Piper real quickly.
Okay.
You got it?
Yeah.
You're looking at it?
Yep.
What rarity is it at?
It's a common. Rarity?
There.
S?
Yeah, right? That's weird. Prismatic Piper is just like basic lands in this draft environment, where there hypothetically will be a pool of them available to you, and it's there in case you only draft one partner and you don't really have enough to fill it out, but you have enough cards for another color, or even in the rare case that you don't draft a single legend, which is borderline impossible with the way these packs are designed.
Well, that's new.
Yeah. So Prismatic Piper is considered a basic legend for the purposes of this set. It's our first real spoiler we're going to talk about, and obviously it's a 5-drop 3/3. It doesn't have any real abilities, aside from the fact that it lets you set its color identity if it's your commander at the start of a game. So basically it allows you to draft into another color if you happen to pull cards from it.
I think for the draft environment, I think this will be helpful. There's probably going to be a lot of color fixing and stuff like that, but the commanders you are able to draft aren't always going to accommodate those colors.
As far as color fixing, we know for a fact at Common we have both Command Tower and also Commander Sphere, which isn't huge, but at Common they're both going to be readily available for those effects. Now, there's 41 partners in the set, and we've already talked about the first one, the Prismatic Piper. Now, just like how Prismatic Piper is in the set because they want to give you an option should you somehow not draft a legend or only draft one partner, partners in the set to help you better select your color identity in the command zone. Because if you draft into a whole bunch of red or blue cards, for example, you now can look at your partner legends and compare them together to make a deck, rather than be required to have a red and blue legend to run your cards.
It makes sense for the draft environment. As a whole mechanic, I really dislike partner, but I get it for this draft environment.
Yeah, I mean, getting into that a little bit, I'm kind of on the fence the same way about partner as a mechanic for the constructed aspect of the game, because it kind of leads to a little bit of homogenous decks, where if one of these partners somehow becomes the best option for a color, or a partner pair becomes the best option for a color, it all of a sudden becomes a lot harder to justify running anything else at that point. We'll see what happens, and this leads me to another point I want to bring up from the articles. Hey, Double Masters was a set. And Devin and I have talked about this a bit. Double Masters exists because Commander Legends had to be pushed back. They pushed back Commander Legends to make sure they had additional time to get a whole bunch of different teams to look at the partner pairs in this set to get an idea of how powerful they were. One of those teams is the Play Design team, and we all know how they've done a perfect job this year and there haven't been any problems whatsoever. Yeah, that's the whole reason the set was pushed back, so they could get their best teams on testing the partners to make sure they're not busted in at least the draft environment, hopefully not in the format as a whole. And in his defense, Gavin, who is the lead designer on this set, did Battle Bond as well, and he's been very good about that in the past, so I actually have some hopes that things will be pretty well balanced.
I have some faith in Gavin just because, like you said, Battle Bond was a good set. It was a well-designed set, and I don't think we got anything that was, like, crazy defining in Commander. Of course, that wasn't centered around Commander, but it kind of had Commander in mind.
Yeah, hey, Collector's Boosters are back.
Yay! Collector's Boosters.
To that end, we have both borderless treatments like before, and they're doing a new treatment for cards, what's called an etched foil treatment. That area that is real bumpy and textured looking, it is just still smooth, so there's no actual tactile difference in the card. According to the article Wizards put out around it, they are likely to occur, if not guaranteed, in Collector's Boosters. And on top of that, apparently, these etched foils are going to appear in draft boosters at a really infrequent occurrence, where it's going to be very, very unlikely you pull them, but they are actually going to appear there, which I do like. That's a correct move in my mind.
It probably is reminiscent of, kind of back in Zendikar when you could pull the expeditions.
We're getting the other half of the enemy Crowdlands.
I think that was a very good move for this set. Like, these are designed for Commander. Of course, they're not going to work well in Draft, right? Because Draft...
I should have mentioned that earlier. Thank you for bringing that up, Devin. Draft is a multiplayer environment. It's meant to be drafted in 8-man pods, and you play 4-player games.
Okay, I stand corrected. These lands are just great. I'm glad another untapped Cynic land got printed, because...
And is it, in fairness?
Honestly, just enemy untapped lands are not very frequent, so seeing more enemy lands is great. We need more lands like this.
Now, we're not getting the full 10, but we are getting the other half of the cycle. So that's kind of what we're looking at in terms of a land cycle. To that end, it hasn't been officially confirmed, but don't expect fetch lands here. It seems like that leak that they're in the collector's boosters for Zendikar is becoming more and more true every day.
This set is seeming more and more like fetch lands just wouldn't make sense.
They wouldn't work in this set.
Yes. Wizards know how much people want, how sought after they are, and maybe this isn't true, but I feel like they wouldn't put it into a low-priced product like this.
The set is pre-ordering at $125 on Amazon right now, so once again, right around that price of Battle Bond. And I do believe you're probably on the money there, where they know how desirable fetch lands are. And this product itself is already going to be desirable to Commander players, so there's no real reason to add in that reprint equity. Let's talk a little bit about the partners we've seen so far.
So we've seen 3 in total.
Yes, a rare and 2 uncommons. And to be honest with you, what we've seen so far of the partner bodes well for balancing.
Yes.
Let's talk about Sengir first, I guess.
Okay, Sengir is the 6 mana 4/4 flyer, and when another creature dies, put 2 +1/+1 counters on Sengir. When another player loses the game, you gain life equal to that player's life at the beginning of that turn.
Mm-hmm.
So, he's pretty balanced. Like, people are gonna look at him and be like, oh, he's not amazing, why would you play him? Like, these partners that we are looking at right now seem to be more for fun, like splashy plays, doing interesting things. Like, we haven't seen that second effect, like, ever. And it seems like, from looking at the uncommon partners, that they have a partner that they should be paired with, but don't have to be paired with.
Yeah, I tell you what, real quickly my thoughts on Sengir, and then we'll jump into the uncommons. If anything, he seems a bit underpowered, if I had to put it that way. I think he's a good beater, and I think he'll be really good in draft. I could see building around him in Commander, but I don't see him being a staple Commander, especially for mono black.
I'm hoping that, this set's gonna be more about just making fun, interesting Commanders versus just powerful.
Yeah, there's a lot of flavor in these cards we've seen so far, which is nice. So, first off, we have Halana Kessig Ranger, which is 3 and a green for a 3/4 with reach. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you can pay 2 generic mana. When you do, that creature deals damage to its power to target creature.
Alena Kessig Trapper is a legendary human scout. It's a 5 mana 4/3 with first strike. And then you can tap it to add an amount of red mana equal to the greatest power among creatures you control that enter the battlefield this turn. To me, their abilities really scream that average Gruul thing that happens where you want to play big creatures, they want to fight, they want to deal damage. So they're not the most unique Gruul commanders, but they're also interesting enough that I think they'll be fun.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I am a little bit concerned. Part of me is still hoping that Commander Legends is more a set that kind of pushes each color in a different direction in some ways. Not necessarily breaking the color pie, but kind of expanding it in some ways. Gruul fighting?
It's what it's always done.
Yeah. Alena, I'm sure there's some use we can find with just even a mono red, add a ton of mana by casting big creatures. You can potentially have Alena out and multi-chain large creatures in one turn. But I don't know. I'm kind of hoping for a little bit more build-around-y commanders. Not that these aren't build-around, but
they're generic.
What makes me want to run Halana and Alena over like Neith, for example. Anyways, that's my unfortunate pessimistic view on this. Sorry.
Now that we've gone through most of everything we've seen, let's go to the last one, Keeper of the Accord.
Yeah, and when they said that they're gonna make Mono White a little more powerful in this set, yeah, that's a pretty good start.
They weren't frickin' kidding.
A 4-drop 3/4 human soldier. At the beginning of each opponent's end step, if that player controls more creatures than you, create a 1/1 white soldier. And also, at the beginning of each opponent's end step, if that player controls more lands than you can search your library for a basic plains card, put it onto the battlefield tap, and then shuffle your library.
White's always been about, for lands and creatures, it's usually always seemed about catch-up. This is that taken to the extreme. It's also just really good at establishing a board state.
Yes, but typically when you're behind. Once again, it does require the player whose end step it is to control either more creatures or lands than you, which isn't always the case, and especially with this card in play, won't stay the case for long.
On average, as long as he's on the field for a turn, you're probably getting at least one creature and at least one land.
And that's a pretty good investment for 4 mana. Even if it goes on board, gets around the table once, and dies, yeah.
If you play it early enough across the game, you'll possibly get more.
Yeah, and I'm hoping for the non-legendary cards that we see a bit more like this as well, where they fill the slots that aren't legendary with cards that are useful across the board. Just useful tools to have. Personally, I don't think this card is anything that is just overwhelmingly powerful, but I think it's a very good effect that White should have.
This is already, from the few cards we've seen, it's shaping up to be a pretty good set, especially for the price tag.
Yeah, if it sticks to that 125 price tag, yeah, this is probably a good set to take a look at and keep an eye on, because as long as they're sticking to their mentality of this isn't Modern Horizons for Commander, I think we'll be in a good place.
Yep, I agree with that.
I think that's gonna kind of do it for today. How do we want to end this thing?